They say temptation starts quiet, a whisper in the shadows of your heart. It doesn't knock or scream. It creeps in slow and sly until you feel its breath on your neck when you're alone, a seductive call you can't ignore. That's what it did to me. That's how I found myself at my boss's bedroom door near midnight, wearing only a short silk robe and a heart pounding with desire, a reckless need that consumed me. My name is Lily, and I'm 26, single, working as a housekeeper for a wonderful family in Miami, a city of sun and secrets. The mother Grace is sweet, almost too kind, a warm light in my often lonely world. She treats me like a sister, her generosity a balm to my soul. Her husband Nathan is a different story, a man who commands attention without trying. Tall, broad-shouldered with salt and pepper hair, and a deep, warm voice that makes my knees weak when he says my name, a sound that lingers like a forbidden melody. Nathan isn't just handsome, he's powerful. The kind of man who enters a room and makes everyone feel small, his presence a magnetic force. Sometimes the way he looks at me, lingering a second too long, dipping just a fraction lower, tells me I'm not the only one sensing something dangerous, a spark that threatens to ignite. It all began the night Grace left for a week-long business trip, leaving the house cloaked in an eerie calm. The silence was deafening, the air too cold, a void that amplified my restless heart. I should have felt responsible, but instead something hot and reckless surged inside me, a fire I couldn't contain. I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, wearing a tiny silk robe I'd never dared to wear before, its fabric a whisper against my skin. My room was across the hall from his, and with every passing minute my heart raced faster, a drumbeat of longing. Was I crazy? Maybe. But I didn't care anymore. I needed him, a need that drowned out all reason. So I tiptoed down the hall, each step a descent into forbidden territory. The house was dark, silent, save for the soft hum of the fridge downstairs, a faint reminder of normalcy. I stood before his door, fingers trembling, breath held my body alive with anticipation. My skin prickled under the silk, the fabric brushing against me, a tease that heightened my desire. I raised my hand and knocked softly, almost hoping he wouldn't hear. But he did. The door creaked open, and there he stood, shirtless, eyes sleepy, breathtakingly gorgeous, a vision that stole my breath. "Lily," he said, voice low and husky, a sound that sent shivers down my spine. "Everything okay?" I swallowed, cheeks burning, thighs pressing together, my body betraying my composure. "I couldn't sleep," I whispered. "Can I come in?" He hesitated, his gaze dropping to my robe, my bare legs, the curve of my hips, his jaw tightening with restraint. But he stepped aside, a silent invitation to cross the line. I walked in the room filled with his scent, wood spice, and something distinctly masculine, a fragrance that wrapped around me like a lover's embrace. He closed the door behind me, sealing us in a world of our own. "What's wrong?" he asked, his voice a mix of concern and curiosity. I turned to face him, heart pounding, a wild rhythm urging me forward. "I don't know how to say this," I said softly, "but I've been thinking about you for weeks." His eyes darkened, a storm brewing in their depths. He stepped toward me, slow, deliberate. "Lily, you know this is wrong." His words a warning, his tone a plea. "I know," I whispered, "but I don't care." He was inches away now, his warmth radiating his chest, rising and falling, a man on the edge of surrender. His gaze flicked to my lips, then lower. Hungry, searching. "Do you want this?" he asked, voice barely a whisper, a question that held our fate. I nodded, a silent vow. Then he kissed me, not gentle, not slow, but fire ablaze that consumed us both. A deep, desperate hunger flowed from his lips to mine, igniting every nerve in my body. He gripped my waist, pulling me close, and I gasped, feeling his arousal through his shorts, a hard truth that fueled my desire. I moaned into his mouth, fingers digging into his back as he lifted me effortlessly and carried me to the bed, a journey into the heart of temptation. My robe fell open as I lay back, his eyes devouring every inch of my skin, a gaze that made me feel seen, wanted. He kissed down my neck, my chest lower, his mouth trailing fire, his hands exploring places I'd dreamed he'd touch, each caress a fulfillment of my fantasies. I stopped thinking about grace, about right or wrong. All I knew was I was finally tasting what I craved, a forbidden fruit I couldn't resist. And he gave it to me all night, again and again, a relentless dance of passion. He made me feel things I'd never felt, his touch, his whispers in my ear, the way he held me after a tenderness that broke my heart. It wasn't just one night. It was a door we couldn't close, a path we couldn't unwalk. I woke in his bed, tangled in sheets, his arm around me, a moment of stolen bliss. That was the night it began, the night I became more than a housekeeper. And it didn't stop there. We couldn't stop. We wouldn't. I woke with my head on his chest, his steady breaths beneath me, a rhythm that felt like home. The sheets twisted around my legs, my robe discarded on the floor, a relic of my restraint. He held me like he didn't want to let go, a silent claim that warmed me. For a moment I closed my eyes and pretended I was his, that I belonged here in his arms, in his bed, in his life, a fantasy too sweet to release. But reality hit like a cold gust, a harsh reminder of our betrayal. This was Grace's husband, my boss, a man I had no right to touch, let alone claim, yet his touch felt like destiny. Still, I didn't regret it, not one bit. Not even as guilt gnawed at my edges. His hand slid up my back, slow, gentle. "You okay?" he asked, voice sleepy deep, stirring a flutter in my core. I looked at him, biting my lip. Better than okay, a truth that felt in every fiber of my being. He smiled, a smile that stole my breath. God, that smile, it made my heart skip. "I didn't expect this," he said, brushing hair from my cheek, a gesture so tender it ached. "I didn't expect you." I rolled over, straddling his chest, the sheet falling to my waist, basking in the power of his gaze. I leaned down and kissed him again, softer this time, tasting the lips that had undone me, savoring the ruin they'd wrought. "I'm not done with you," I whispered, trailing fingers down his chest, a promise of more to come. He groaned, eyes darkening, a spark reigniting. "You're dangerous," he said. "No," I murmured, kissing his abs then lower. "I'm yours," a declaration that sealed me to him. I wanted to please him, to make him remember me every time he closed his eyes, to etch myself into his soul. I took him into my mouth, slow teasing, a deliberate act of devotion. His fingers tangled in my hair as I moved my lips and tongue, finding a rhythm, my hands holding him gently but firm, a dance of control and surrender. He groaned, raw, deep, telling me everything I needed, his pleasure, my triumph. "Lily," he gasped. "God, you feel incredible," his words a fuel to my fire. I didn't stop, slow, deep, intense, pushing him to the edge. I wanted him to lose control, and he did, his body tensing, a loud groan escaping as he gripped the sheets, a release that bound us closer. I stayed with him, eyes locked, claiming every moment. When I crawled back beside him, he pulled me close and whispered something I'd never forget. "No one's ever made me feel like this." I blinked. "Not even your wife." He didn't answer right away, then looked at me, serious, vulnerable, a man bared. "Grace and I haven't been close in a long time. She's busy, always tired. We don't even kiss anymore, his confession a crack in his armor. I bit my lip, not wanting to pity him, not wanting to feel anything, but it was too late, my heart already entangled. She's lucky, I whispered. No, he said, thumb brushing my lip. I'm the lucky one, a sentiment that melted me. We lay there for hours, talking, kissing, touching, making love again and again, like we were making up for every lonely night we'd endured a desperate attempt to fill the void. But morning light crept through the curtains, bringing guilt, a shadow that loomed larger with each ray. I slipped out of his bed and back to my room before the kids woke, a thief fleeing the scene. I stood before my mirror, staring at swollen lips, red marks on my neck, flushed cheeks, a woman transformed by sin. I looked like someone else, someone who'd crossed a line with no return, and yet I wanted to cross it again. That day we tried to act normal, breakfast, school runs, cleaning a facade of routine, but our glances burned electric with unspoken promises. In the kitchen, he brushed past me, whispering, "You're all I think about," his words, a spark in my veins. In the laundry room, he kissed me against the door when no one was looking, a stolen moment that set me ablaze. By evening, we couldn't keep our hands off each other. I was back in his room before dinner, and he pulled me close like I belonged there, a home I'd never known. That week, with Grace gone, we were addicted slaves to our desire. We made love in the bathroom, on the living room couch in his office, even by the pool under a starlit sky, each place a canvas for our passion. It wasn't just sex, it was passion, longing, hunger, a connection that transcended the physical. Every kiss was deeper, every touch more urgent, a dance on the edge of destruction. We were playing with fire and we knew it, but we couldn't stop. We didn't want our hearts too entwined to break free. That night I was in his arms again, his strong hands gripping my waist as he moved inside me, slow, deep, like he was memorizing me, claiming me as his own. Our bodies moved in perfect rhythm, slick with sweat, tangled in sheets, a symphony of need. My moans were swallowed by his mouth, each gasp met with a thrust that erased the world, a moment where only we existed. It wasn't just desire anymore. It felt dangerous, a love that threatened to consume us. I felt like I belonged in his bed, like I was born to be there, not just a housekeeper, but his everything. "Lily," he whispered, voice thick with need. "You're driving me crazy," his words a mirror to my own madness. I smiled in the dark, moving with him, slow, deliberate, building the tension like a storm, a tempest we couldn't escape. "Good," I murmured in his ear. "I want to ruin you," a vow I meant with every fiber of my being. And I did, night after night, reckless, desperate, utterly addicted, a spiral we couldn't break. But when you play with fire, it always burns. It happened on Thursday, a day that shattered our illusion. I was in the kitchen wearing a loose tank top and nothing else, humming as I packed the kids' lunches, lost in the glow of our secret. Nathan had kissed me against the fridge, whispering he wanted me in his office after the kids left, his voice a promise that set me alight. I grinned, my body already aching for him, a hunger that never faded. Then the front door opened and everything broke, a crash that echoed in my soul. "Hey," Grace's voice rang through the hall, a sound that froze my blood. I went still. So did he, our world collapsing in an instant. She was due back Saturday, but there she was, walking in with her suitcase and a tired smile, like she'd come home early to surprise us, an innocent act that exposed our guilt. "Oh my gosh," she exclaimed, arms open for the kids. "I missed you all so much." I turned away, hiding my face, heart hammering, panic clawing at my chest. Nathan stepped forward, hugging her awkwardly, kissing her cheek, a performance that felt like betrayal. "You're back early," he said, trying to sound casual, his voice strained with fear. Yeah, the last 2 meetings got canceled. Thought I'd surprise you, her words a dagger to our secret. She turned to me. Lily, thank you so much for everything while I was gone. I nodded, forcing a smile. Of course, it's always a pleasure, a lie that tasted like ash. Inside, I was screaming. I hadn't even washed the sheets, evidence of our sins still lingering. That afternoon, everything felt wrong, a world tilted off its axis. Nathan barely looked at me, his avoidance a wound. Grace stayed close to him, arm around him, laughing loudly like she was reclaiming her place, a queen asserting her throne. I felt invisible, forgotten, a ghost in their home. But that night, after everyone was asleep, a soft knock came at my door, a sound that both thrilled and terrified me. It was him, standing in sweatpants and a tight shirt, eyes full of guilt and hunger, a man torn between duty and desire. She kissed me, he said, and I hated it, his confession a spark in the dark. I didn't speak. I pulled him inside and locked the door, sealing us in our sin. He kissed me, pressing me against the wall fast, rough, silent, his hand over my mouth as he moved inside me again and again, until I shattered in his arms, clawing his back, a release that felt like salvation. I missed you, he groaned into my neck. I thought about your mouth, your hands, your voice, everything, his words a lifeline I clung to. I knelt, taking him into my mouth again like the first time, a ritual of our addiction. He leaned against the wall, groaning, fingers tight in my hair, his pleasure my power. Lily, he gasped, you feel better than anything I've ever known. No one's ever done this to me, his praise a fire in my veins. His words drove me deeper, slower, teasing, until his knees nearly buckled, pushing him to the brink. He groaned loudly, struggling to stay quiet, a risk we couldn't afford. Then he kissed me like he didn't care anymore, a reckless abandon that scared me. But I cared too much, a truth that weighed heavy. I should have stopped, walked away that night when he came to my room and kissed me like I was the air he breathed, but I couldn't. I let him back into my body, my heart deeper into my soul, a connection I couldn't sever. We made love like we were starving, his mouth on my skin, my legs around his waist, my moans buried in his chest, a desperate attempt to hold on to what we'd found. After we lay silent, listening to each other's breaths, a fragile peace in the chaos. I'm falling for you, he whispered, a confession that broke me. I blinked in the dark, unsure what to say, but I felt it too. A love that was our undoing. And maybe that's what made us careless, because the next day it all fell apart, a reckoning we couldn't escape. It started with a forgotten phone on the kitchen counter, his phone a ticking bomb. He was upstairs with the kids. I was washing dishes, lost in the routine of hiding our truth. Grace, supposed to be out for lunch with friends, came home early, her presence a sudden storm. I didn't hear her at first, her heels clicking softly on the hardwood, a predator's approach. She paused, seeing the phone buzz on the counter. Curious, she picked it up, a simple act that unraveled everything. I turned just as her face paled, reading a message from me last night was incredible. I can still taste you. I want more. Her fingers tightened around the phone, her grip a vice of betrayal. Her eyes met mine, slow, deliberate, a gaze that pierced my soul. Silence heavy with accusation. What the hell is this? She said, her voice a blade. I froze, the plate in my hand slipping, shattering in the sink, a sound that echoed my breaking world. Grace eyed, but she was already storming upstairs, phone in hand, fury etched on her face, a woman scorned. I ran after her, heart pounding, chasing a futile hope. She burst into the bedroom where Nathan was helping the kids dress, a scene of domesticity shattered. You slept with the housekeeper, she screamed, her words a public execution. He turned stunned, a deer in headlights. "Grace, wait." She threw the phone at him. "Don't lie to me," her voice a raw wound. The kids stared, confused, scared, innocent witnesses to our sin. "Get out," she said, pointing at me, her command absolute. "Get out of my house, Lily." I backed away, trembling, humiliated, broken, a pariah in their home. I packed in 10 minutes each item, a reminder of my fall. Nathan tried to follow me to talk, but Grace stood between us like a hurricane, shielding what was left of her dignity and family, a warrior reclaiming her ground. And I walked away, a thief banished from paradise. It was over, but the damage was done, a scar that would never heal. Weeks passed. I found a small apartment, took part-time jobs elsewhere, trying to rebuild from the ashes. I kept my head down, tried to forget how he made me feel like the only woman in the world, a memory that haunted my dreams. One night my phone rang. It was him. "She's gone. Took the kids. Filed for divorce. I lost everything except the memory of you," his voice, a ghost of our past. I stared at the screen, tears welling, torn between longing and guilt. I wanted to answer, to say I missed him, that I still dreamed of him, still felt him inside me, but I couldn't. I turned off the phone and curled up in bed alone with my regret. Some love stories are brief, sinful, unforgettable like ours, a flame that burns eternal in my heart.